All right, welcome to MazzaMedia. I'm Mark, and we are live. It is Saturday, May 24th, 2025. Saturday on a Memorial Day weekend, so it's going to be a long weekend, 3-day weekend. Most of us probably, hopefully, all have 3 days off. If not, if you're working, just all the best to you getting it done. In the real world out there, it's a busy world. It's a busy life. And just enjoy your life the best you can is always my message. So this is going to be kind of a low-key fundraiser this afternoon. Usually when I do fundraisers, I like to have guests on, but we're going to try to just raise some money for Karen nonetheless. We'll try to see if we can get to $500 this afternoon. I don't know how long I'm going to be on. We'll see. Depends on how much I want to talk, how much I want to talk about, and all that. But it's great to see everybody. It's been a very busy week, hasn't it? In the world of Karen Reed, in the world of being a Karen Reed supporter, it was definitely a very notable week. And I think from a perspective of trial, the trial was pretty quiet in some terms, in terms of just not the real big time witnesses this week, and a lot more just kind of like vague witnesses, some that maybe have lack qualifications, for example, like Burgess did. So that was one of the big moments of the week. So there's a lot to talk about here, and I'm, for the most part now, just based on my life, my schedule, the way things are going, I'm on a limited appearance basis for this trial. I'd like to do more shows if I can, but unfortunately, just there's a lot of time limitations that I have, and all that. So good to see everybody in the chat. What's going on, Feminem? Hope you're doing well. What's going on, Scott McGinnis? Thanks for sharing that link. Appreciate it. Joanna, great to see you. John Miller, great to see you. Mark Cunningham, great to see you as well. Hope you're all doing well today. So, yeah, it was certainly not a boring week. It looks like pretty much at this point, there's only a matter of so many witnesses that are left, that are projected to be called by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And overall, we're looking at really very soon here the defense to start calling their witnesses, which Karen Reed has said to the press leaving court recently is going to be a longer list this time, and it's going to be a lot more in-depth questioning this round as well. And what's very notable for the trial here is how many witnesses that were prominently featured by the Commonwealth last time around are not being featured this time, are not really being brought up this time. A lot of Alberts, a few of the, another McCabe, not being called so far. And it just seems like maybe they're going to put a few other people on there that are more like, people that are potentially like experts or whatnot, that are going to try to present a case and try to make an argument and try to position the Commonwealth to make it seem like, hey, this woman's guilty. But the problems with someone like Shannon Burgess is you cannot ever put a quote unquote expert or someone you're considering a resource up there, and they don't have the qualifications or enough qualifications to be sufficiently on the stand and presenting your case. And you don't see Trooper Paul up there so far. I don't even think they're even going to call him this particular time because, as many will say, not necessarily a strong enough witness. And that's what we're seeing here, trial to trial. Is just how badly the Commonwealth did last time, because the Commonwealth knows in their mind and in their heart of hearts, if they have any heart, that they did not beat the defense last time around. They know in their minds, in their hearts, if they have a heart, and in their souls, if they have a soul, that they got beat head to head in that first trial. And they know for a fact how that jury deliberated last time. And if they were walking away from that first trial thinking that, everything Karen Reed and her defense team and all of Karen Reed's supporters are saying about counts 1 and counts 3, and Ronnie the juror saying that it was not guilty is a lie, they don't have any legs to stand on, because at this particular time, look what they did. They went out, they made Adam Lally, who was their top dog prosecutor last time, demoted him. He was their number one guy. Now he's their number two guy, and also a bag carrier and coffee maker at this particular time for Hank Brennan. And Hank Brennan has come in, and he is the number one guy. He is the new chief for the Commonwealth, and he is the one that has been running the show. And you look at their entire game, and if how they approached this thing last time in any way, shape, or form was successful in their own minds, not the case. Not the case, because they know that they didn't get the job done last time. And for the defense, they know that 2/3 of that job was done, and the other third maybe needs to be touched up on. And they got a lot of feedback. They have, a jury member from last time that's, legal expertise. She's helping the team. She's giving them feedback. I'm sure they interviewed her thoroughly on the ins and outs of what went on in that jury room and how their presentation came off to that jury. So the advantage is for the defense, all in all. And the defense is just going to tighten up things. Brian, what's going on, man? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing good, man. Always good to see you. Good to see the glare. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts is accountable for killing Boston police officer John O'Keefe as the real killers of Boston police officer John. Yeah, that's for that. Well, exactly, because it's the association and all of that. Though they did not physically kill him, them aiding and abetting essentially, or contributing and participating in the cover-up is certainly grounds for, like he said, accountability. Great comment by the glare there. Mark Cunningham's in the house as well, my guy. Good to see a lot of familiar faces in here. Always good to see you guys. It's great. Estee's here as well. I watched a little bit of Estee's show this morning. She had a great show. She's raising money. Estee's been a heavy voice, boots on the ground, just getting money raised for Karen, which has been outstanding. And used to always be outside the State House as well. But she's frequently seen in court supporting Karen as well, and just doing an overall great job. So shout out to you, Esty. Hope you're doing well. It's great to see so many people that have participated in supporting Karen in so many ways. And Tracy's here as well. Tracy, good to see you. And again, we're doing a little bit of a fundraiser this afternoon as well. I know Esty was raising some money on her show. We can kind of join in with what she raised today to pair that together with what we can raise, and kind of use 2 shows or more today to raise funds for Karen Reed. So I'll just see if there's any donations so far for this particular show. But I saw Esty reading off a lot of donations earlier. And, we got $100. I'm only going to count the ones that specifically say Mazza, because the Turtle Boy dinner is going on right now. So make sure there's a link out there. If the mods want to grab it and throw it in the chat, they are raising money for Karen Reed. I believe that's for Aiden's Defense Fund as well. And that link can be posted too if the mods have that link. That's for Turtle Boy's dinner at Chili's. I believe Meredith and Aiden are both going to be a part of that dinner, and then there's going to be, I think, a few winners for that contest that will raise some money for Karen, and I believe that's for Turtle Boy's Defense Fund as well. I'm not sure, but we'll get a link out and you guys can follow that. Additionally, Mike Crawford from the Young Jerks, he is seeking fundraising for his Give, Send, Go. He has been hit with a lawsuit or a defamation suit, and he is fighting right now to defend himself against a few folks there that really do not like him and have really been a long-standing opposition to him for quite some time. So we'll try to get that link posted as well and help out Mike Crawford any way we can. I'm going to make a donation to Mike in the next day or two. Just once I get an opportunity to sit down and do that, I'm going to try to make a donation to Mike and just help him out. Mike has done a lot for me. He really got me on his show often and helped me, build up, use my voice and gave me a platform for a long time. So I'm definitely going to contribute to Mike as well. I've given all the defense funds as well. So we're just going to ask that anyone that can, whether it's $5 or more, whatever you can give to assist Mike in his battle to defend himself. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of people that have it in for Mike Crawford as well as Aiden. Now let's talk about Chili's for a second. So I just saw the comment from Carla. So the fajitas at Chili's are absolutely phenomenal. Okay, let's just say it like that. Now, the two menu items. I haven't been to Chili's in a long time because one of the local Chili's that used to be in my area is now gone. But that all aside, my two favorite menu items on the Chili's menu are as follows. To Carla's point, the fajitas at Chili's are absolutely phenomenal. I usually, when I go there, it's the steak, chicken, shrimp fajitas. They are amazing, and they bring them out blazing, sizzling hot when your order arrives. In the years prior to that, what I used to always get was the mushroom, onion, Swiss, bacon cheeseburger. However, I used to customize it there, and that used to be phenomenal as well. And I never had their margaritas. Hate corruption. I had the margaritas at Applebee's when I went there, and I got the big chicken or whatever it was called at Applebee's during the early spring, late winter or whatever it was. That was good. Yeah, chips and salsa are the best in the world. You gotta love chips and salsa. That is for sure. No question about that. Can't go wrong there. Chili's is a good place. It deserves more credit than it gets. It's really, really good. Applebee's is good. I've never had their ribs though, but yeah, those are all good things. But the fajitas are amazing. Anytime I go to a Mexican restaurant, it's always fajitas. I always try to get steak, chicken, shrimp. I don't go out often to those kind of restaurants that serve fajitas, but when I do, steak, chicken, shrimp, fajitas is the way to go. There was breaking news last night. I had meatballs for dinner instead of chicken wings. I know I probably haven't had chicken wings in 3 weeks. I know it's a crisis right now. We'll try to get that underhand, and I'll try to do better in life and not disappoint this audience that I'm not eating chicken wings as much as I have been in recent history. So to anyone that I've offended out there or upset or disappointed, I do apologize. All right. So again, the link at the top of the chat here, write Mazza in your donation message to Karen Reed's Defense Fund to have your donation counted. We've also placed the link for Mike from the Young Jerks in the chat. And also, I believe we're trying to get the link for Turtle Boy's Chili's dinner in there as well. So we're rolling into June here. Memorial Day is coming up on Monday. We're rolling into June. And really, I think that in terms of this trial, this is pretty much the second half of the trial is going to basically take place in June. I don't know how long the defense is going to do their direct, but it's going to be, I think this is going to be a lot more chaotic than the first half, because I think that, there's been, I think Turtle Boy said this a lot. I've said this a few times. This has been a boring trial by comparison to last year. And I do think the reason why is that we have already seen a lot of these witnesses before, where I think last time in the first trial, it was like people that were all new to us and we were hearing them for the first time. And it was, what does this person have to say? How is this going to go? And then you start to realize, 10 minutes in or whatnot, whether this witness is really going to be somebody that's of interest to you as a viewer, or they have a context that they bring to the trial that's going to be sufficiently unique or interesting. So I think that this trial is going to be most remembered for the direct examination this time, more so than it was last time. I think last trial, it was more about the cross by the defense and the direct by the Commonwealth, and seeing McAlberts and Proctor and all those folks on that stand. I think this time around, the second half of the trial is going to be the premier portion of the trial. Shout out to Cherry. Hope you're doing well. She's saying justice for wings. Thank you. But yes, I think here's the thing. Adam Lally is not good at cross. Hank Brennan has, whether you like him or not, he is a more intriguing cross-examiner, basically having a defense attorney background. Kelly Reed, shout out to you. Yeah, I agree too. Second half will definitely have more action for sure. And Kelly Reed says, hello, Mazza. Hello, Kelly. Hope you're doing well. We're trying to raise a little bit of money here today for the Reed family, Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Kelly has been an absolute soldier for her cousin. You want to talk about someone that should be person of the year, if not Karen, it's Kelly and it's Nathan and it's Bill and it's Janet, who have just shown everybody what family is all about, and standing up for a family member is all about, the amount of dedication. And Kelly, you're the ultimate cousin. There's no cousin on the earth that can ever say that they support a cousin more than you. You've gone above and beyond, and your trips into court have been tireless, and I'm sure exhausting, and I'm sure sometimes boring to listen to those prosecutors sometimes in court. But I bet. We're waiting. We are waiting. We are certainly waiting. The defense will be putting on a very robust case in chief. Wait for us. You bet. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be the second half, I think, is going to be really, really engaging. And I think it's going to be must see stuff. And I think we're going to because I think to some degree, the prosecution has tried to make their case, but at the same time, they've almost been protective kind of offense, where it's like they're offensive to a degree, but they're not going too far because they don't want to leave too much for the defense to, it's like in hockey. You want to clear the puck out of the zone. You don't want to leave it around the net where the offense can get a garbage goal off a rebound, put it in the net, and score on you. And I think that the prosecution has been very much reserved in that sense because they know there's a lot for the defense to clean up and use against them. I thought Jennifer McCabe, I really thought they had a couple strategies with her. And I'm talking about the prosecution. I think that they wanted her more subdued this time. I think they wanted her less argumentative this time. And I also think that they wanted to get her in there as early as possible. So when the trial went on, she would be more of a less memorable witness than she was for before the jury than she was last time. And I think last time in the first trial, she was very memorable. She was very argumentative. She stood out a lot. And I think their argument, the prosecution's attempt this time was, let's have you tone it down, Jen. Let's get you on earlier. Let's make you less memorable. And let's hope and pray that when it comes time to jury deliberation, you're more out of sight, you're more out of mind as it comes to the minds of the jury. And she tried to laugh and joke around and try to feel more relatable. I think that was kind of how she was coached up. That's just my particular opinion. But I think that was the prosecution's approach. Keep her out of sight, keep her out of mind. And Mark Cunningham says, no one will ever forget that snake. Now, I agree. I think that to a degree that's absolutely correct. But I do think that they wanted to dilute that fact, which means that they, if she was more memorable like this, they wanted her more down like here, while still being unforgettable, while still not being, anything forgotten. I think that's kind of what their approach was, to try to minimize their damages, dilute the defense's victories before that jury. And I think that was their approach. Now, nonetheless, I think it's obvious here that the defense has obviously definitively beaten the prosecution in this trial. And I would say more definitively in this trial than the first trial. So if you thought that, if it was a 5 touchdown victory in the first trial, then it's like a 10 touchdown victory in this trial, because the defense has refined their game. So even though the prosecution, again, has tried to dilute things, tried to rearrange the strategies a little bit, then compared to the first trial, the defense is still, the defense themselves are better. Now, here's my argument. I'll say this to everyone, and some may disagree, but I'll explain it, and I think it will make sense for everybody. I do think the prosecution has done slightly better in this trial, and I think that they've tried to import that or deploy that by getting a lot of those witnesses that the defense really knocked the crap out of last time and not calling them at all, right? So I think that if I look at the prosecution objectively, they're a little bit better in this trial. Now, by comparison, I think that the defense is twice as good as they were in the first trial. So if there was a 5 touchdown victory in the first trial, which was 35-0, of course, now it's a 70-0 victory. That's it. It's an absolute. The defense is bigger and badder and twice as good as they were first time, because the defense is a lot more. They had a whole sample of the first trial to look at, refine, use their game, and double it up. So I do think the prosecution's a step better, but I think that the defense is about 5 to 10 miles, 5 to 10 touchdowns greater than they were first time. So no matter in what ways the prosecution attempts to restrict their style or protect themselves and present themselves well, the defense is just knocking it out of the park more and more. And then you have Robert Alessi in there, who has been, just really a godsend, and is so good and has been so great and has been out there, and he's just taking on his witnesses, and he has all the details, all the data, and he's just taking it home day after day after day. He's asking the right questions. He's asking thorough questions. He's getting in data and analytics the right way, and he's presenting a case that ultimately refutes whatever these experts are. And I think that's been absolutely fantastic. And I think it's been absolutely just great through and through. And you had, again, Burgess. Well, what are your qualifications? Do you have an associate's? I mean, it's a big difference between associates and a BA and a master's. This guy doesn't even have a BA. A bachelor's degree, rather, they call him. He has an associate, so he's unqualified. And they're pointing these kind of things out about these experts. They're questioning their expertise. And great point, Kelly, about the interns as well. That's another great point that needs to be made. The interns have come in as well. And there's about 3 of them at least, or at least 3 of them in the courtroom on a daily basis. And I believe Evan, I believe his last name is Wolf. He has been using the projector and everything and the laptop. He graduated college from Boston College yesterday. He got his degree there. So shout out to him. And I heard the other interns had graduated as well. So just a shout out to all the interns working for Karen Reed's defense team that interned and have graduated and gotten their accomplishments in. And Kelly, thank you for bringing that up to my attention, that needed to be mentioned, because these interns have been sitting there in court. You'll often see them in the front row. They'll have notepads, pen in hand, and they're taking notes, and they're, taking what they're learning. And also they're out there, and they're becoming extra ears in the courtroom for the defense. And I'm curious to know what kind of notes they each take individually, or if they just take their own notes personally. But that's great. It's great to have a little bit of a team back there that can also just kind of give feedback and notes. And that's one of the things you see on a lot of sports teams as well. Even though there's head coaches like Belichick, and people remember Josh McDaniels and Romeo Crennel and all the defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators the Patriots had. There's also other coaches on the Patriots staff. There's guys up in the press box that are looking at certain things, and it's a total team. It's a total coaching team. And when you have a defense attorney team, to not only, like Kelly said, bring in Robert Alessi, but also, in addition to that remark I made, Kelly's also brought up the interns and just having them all there to see what they can pick up and see what kind of feedback they can give. And it's invaluable. And it's really a genius idea by Yannetti to say, hey, let's bring our interns in. I got a couple interns. Let's bring them right in here. And let's have them help us. It's brilliant. And I don't know how often defense attorneys do that, but it's brilliant, because you can use every piece of information you can at your disposal to give your defense team a better opportunity at success. So Kelly, thank you for bringing that up. And again, shout out to all the interns for graduating. Great effort. And as we all know, anyone that's I've never been to law school, but I know people that have, and it's a lot of work. Law school is no joke. It's extremely enduring, and the testing and the studying and the constant courses and classes is it's really outrageous in terms of workload. So just anybody that's gone to law school, is in law school, shout out to you, hats off, and that's it. So thank you, Kelly, for that remark. So yes, I think that the defense really is going to be, and some are graduating from Harvard soon too. That's awesome. That's really good stuff. That's really great to hear, Kelly. Thank you. Yes, and I'm really truly interested in the second half of this trial, when the sides, they switch sides here, because because what I thought was really a really great move by the defense prior to the start of this trial was when they released their witness list. Now, last year, the prosecution released their list for the first trial. It was a very long list. And this trial, the prosecution released their witness list. It was a very long list. And then we have the defense in the first trial, I would say a limited list. It was a list of maybe the essential witnesses that they wish to call. But however, when the defense released their witness list this time, it included a very sizable list that also appeared to include a lot of duplicate witnesses that were listed by the Commonwealth or prosecution, and witnesses that were listed, all the same witnesses essentially on their list too, which was great because I believe that the defense had anticipated that the Commonwealth / prosecution, whatever you want to call them, were not going to call every single one of those witnesses. And they didn't want the Commonwealth to have the opportunity to be like, well, we're not going to call Proctor. Well, we're not going to call the homeowner. Well, we're not going to call whoever. And the defense wanted that opportunity to basically put the spotlight on any witnesses that they didn't want, to force them to be on there anyways. But I do wonder, I wonder Hank Brennan's strategy from a constructive and objective standpoint. This is not to criticize him, but it's just to say analytically. I wonder if he is not calling those witnesses. I don't know what the reason would be. Is he thinking, like, for example, why bother to call them myself if they're going to get called by the defense anyways? Or I would counter argue my own point or argument. Then if that's the chance, then why not call them anyways if the defense is going to call them? But then I think maybe the prosecution's drive here is to say, let's just not call them and let's hope that the defense doesn't call them either. Maybe that's the kind of thought here, is to try to just leave it up to the defense to call them, and then they'll have to cross-examine basically people that were their own witnesses, now the defense witnesses. So then, no, definitely it's domination, Glenn, for sure. Yeah, Cherry, it looked like Yuri kind of was the substitute. Jennifer Stockdale's here. Jen, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, they were bad witnesses, and I think that the defense is trying to, the prosecution is trying to limit their damages because they know they know the facts are on Karen's side. That's the thing. They're just trying to make the most ridiculous arguments that they possibly can. And then you're going to have a guy like Burgess on the stand, and then his credentials are being picked apart. The reason why these people are their experts is because they can't find anybody with any kind of credibility. And, all that. So, yeah, thanks, Jen. Good to see you as well. I saw you right in the chat. I was like, Jen's here. Good to see you. Someone switched to blue solo cups. All right. Yeah, no Higgins called, but I'm interested in seeing what the defense ends up doing, because I'm sure the defense is going to have a lot of questions as it pertains to the Canton Police Department footage that showed him, what were you doing in the office for 5 minutes? What were you up to? Those are questions that need to be asked. Those are questions that need to be brought to the table before the jury. So I think that the defense, like I said, I don't know their approach this time. I don't know what the defense is planning, but like Kelly said, it's going to be robust. Karen said they have a plan. And, I think they got all the time in the world, really, if they want to call as many witnesses as they need to. But I think that the advantage is heavily on the defense's side. And like I said earlier, moments ago, I think the prosecution's in a protective shell. I think that the prosecution's plan is really for Hank Brennan to do more cross-examination than direct examination, because that seems to be his stronger suit. And to me, for the prosecution, that seems to be accurate with what I would perceive their game plan to be. So I'm really, like I said, I'm really anticipating the second half of this trial. And like I said earlier on the show, I thought last year's trial, the first half of the trial, was the most engaging portion by comparison to the second portion. Not that the second portion was not engaging, but I thought that there was a lot of witnesses that the prosecution had called that we were very interested in seeing. And I think that the defense witnesses last time, ARCA, whomever, Dr. Murray Russell, kind of gave us that, yes, there it is. But I don't think Lally crossed them as insanely as I believe Hank Brennan's going to. And when we saw Hank Brennan and Wolf recently, prior to the trial really getting underway, we saw what went on there. We saw how hostile it got between Brennan and Wolf of ARCA. And you know that when it comes to cross-examination of the defense's witnesses, that's exactly what's going to end up happening. And Brennan went after Dr. Mary Russell the same exact way when they called her credentials and all that into you called that out to attention or whatever you want to say. And that got hostile. Dr. Marie Russell was like one word away from saying, screw off. It's really how it is. So I think we're going to be sitting here, and I think that we're going to see a defense that's making great points, point after point after point after point. And I think you're going to see a lot of battling between Brennan and the defense witnesses that are going to be very memorable. And there's going to be a lot of shows. You're going to see Betterow in a lot of shows. And I'm sure I can already anticipate Betterow ripping them apart. I can already picture Betterow like he's belaboring the point. He's a disaster for the, it's going to be a lot of that. But I really think that the main event of this trial is going to be the defense's direct and the prosecution's cross. I think that's where that's going to be the most memorable half of this trial. I really do. It's flipped this time. It has reversed, but Betterow is going to be on every show, and he's been on a lot of shows. He's been on many shows. He's all over the place, and he's been all over the place. He's great, and again, just a great man, Mark Betterow is, and we're happy to have him. Me and him both wish the Celtics were still in this. You're looking at the New York Knicks now. The New York Knicks have just lost 2 games at home. If you're going to beat the Celtics next, at least beat the Pacers. At least win it all. Don't end the Celtics season like that and then just disappear and get outplayed. But it looks like the Pacers and Thunder is going to be the NBA Finals this year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Brennan's cross, because I'm telling you, if we saw Brennan versus Dr. Wolf and Brennan versus Wolf and Brennan versus Dr. Marie Russell, if those were any inclination of what we're going to see on this cross-examination with the prosecution, it's going to be testy, but it's going to be very interesting to see those witnesses duel with him and state their facts over and over and over again. So I'm very, very much engaged. I'm very eager for this thing to flip now. And I'm interested to see how long the defense is going to call their witnesses for. But I am kind of happy we're moving on soon here. People think maybe no more than 4 more witnesses, max 3 to 4 more witnesses for the prosecution. So I am looking forward to that. Let me see what we got for donations so far. I haven't even been tracking this thing because I'm too busy talking. Let's see what we got. Oh, we got a whole bunch of them here. All right, let's see. We got 100. Let's put that in. All right, $100 donation. Mazza to the Karen Reed team. Stay strong. $5. Mazza Live. We love you and stand with Karen from Ohio. You got this. We'll put the $5 in. Thank you. All right. This other one's for Microdots. So that's good. Microdots sent someone to make a $40 donation. That's great. That must be for the Karen Reed dinner. Fantastic. $10. Mazza, free Karen Reed. Have a great, relaxing weekend. Karen, family, and team, we're all here for you. Hugs and kisses. So another $10 donation to Karen Reed's Defense Fund there. And $50. This is from Terry from Mazza's chat. Bless you, Karen. Praying for you and your family. All right, we'll put the $50 in. Go to the Defense Fund to pledge your donation. Make your donation to her Defense Fund. We're at $165 today. Again, this is going to be more of a smaller time fundraiser, just with the afternoon shows usually a little slightly smaller audience sometimes, and then also less guests as well. We're just contributing anything we can. Like I said, anybody that's contributing as less as $5 is doing a great job. And how amazing is it that Karen Reed's Defense Fund has now reached the $1 million mark? That is absolutely outstanding right now. And I'm thankful for that. And everyone that, has donated even a few dollars to that deserves to stand up and really be applauded for their efforts. It's at $1,011,958. Hit it over the past couple of days, which is great. That is awesome. I guess you're right. We don't pledge, we donate. I must have misspoke. Thank you so much for that. That's all right. That's right. We don't pledge, we donate. Or maybe we fall through on that and make a donation. Thank you so much, Lurking Feds. Hopefully the Feds are lurking, by the way. It'd be nice if they did come in and put this whole thing to rest. Diane says, Mark Betterow is my hero. Hate Corruption says, Cherry, I miss your sass. I miss making comments on this show, and then Cherry takes my remarks and turns them into something a little bit more colorful. So that's always funny. But Lucy, thanks for joining the show. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of whining from the prosecution in this trial. That is for sure. So let me just take a quick sip of water. All right, about 37 minutes into the show, Saturday afternoon, about to hit 2 o'clock. I'm just going to take one more look. Hey, thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate that comment. We're all doing our own level of contributions, whatever you can, whether you donate funds or boots on the ground or you do a show or whatever you can. Scott McGinnis is here. This man has been, Scott McGinnis deserves a medal and a trophy for all he's done. And I know Scott will probably be like, I don't, Mazza. I don't do this. I'm just upset because I hate corruption and I stand up for justice. Well, that's why you deserve a medal, Scott. That's why you deserve a trophy. You know, because you've been amazing, Scott, and so many others have been amazing as well. Have been boots on the ground for so long. These people have been there hot and cold weather and in between, rain, snow, whatever. It's just been incredible for people that are standing out there all the time. And to all the other people that are on shows, joining shows, donating to fundraisers, holding signs. You know, you have people out in Cape Cod that are there every Saturday holding signs, raising awareness. You know, everyone that's done that. It's been fantastic. Standing over highways, the overpasses. It's been an incredible thing, and it's great to see what everybody's doing for Karen Reed and also to fight injustice, which has been one of the biggest things about this whole process, has been fighting injustice. It's been about fighting for Karen and helping Karen out and helping her in any way that we all possibly can. And I'd imagine, you know, Karen and her defense team, you know, I know they're working hard, but I'm sure they take their time to rest as well and recuperate and get their minds ready to go. But I would, if they're in their offices right now preparing for next week, I wouldn't doubt it, you know, or maybe if they're relaxing today for a few hours just to kind of relax, you know, recoup, you know, that's great. But I'd imagine that they're going to use this time to really start to finesse the upcoming days and start to prepare for what's to come and get ready for the big transition that's going on here. So someone said, let's unrig the game. Well, that's my big concern as well. And I think I'm going to use this as a point of conversation here on this show. And that is, what is rigged inside of that courtroom? And we look at the media a lot and what's gone on and what's happened to Turtle Boy and what's happened to Jess Machado. And it's really been, as I expected. Very early on, I was already one of the people, probably among many, that was contesting the media line list. Not the media line, the media lottery. 1 second. Okay. I don't know how readable that is, but to the best of your ability, there it is. So this was put together by someone. I forgot. I've already exited. Let me just do this 1 second. Megan, Meg Med 0402 posted this, and she replied to Jess Machado, and she replied to Turtle Boy. That full page is then there as well, just so you know. So let's look at this thing. So the X's mean that you're in. So the first 2 weeks, Aiden is in. Week 1 and week 2. Now, early on, I was getting ready to say, they're going to rig this thing. They're never going to call Aiden. He's never going to get to go inside that courtroom, and it's going to be controversial. So the first 2 weeks happen, and Aiden's actually in. And I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, well, maybe they're not rigging it at all. Maybe I should step down and go quiet about it, right? Wrong. So the next 4 weeks, week 3, 4, 5, and 6, Aiden is not called at all. And he tends to disappear. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, that second week he was in there, Jen McCabe was in there, but he couldn't go in that courtroom because she was in there. That's interesting. That's very interesting, actually. And I did not think that through yet. So that's right. He was in there and he couldn't go in while she was on. And I don't know if he was ever back again because the next week it happened. That's right, because she was there at the end of 1 week, and then she was there at the start of the 3rd week. So then Aiden wasn't on that. I think that's how it won. People can correct me in the chat. If someone knows better, let me know. But yeah, I think it went something like that. So basically, even when he was in there that 2nd week, he couldn't even go in for a couple of days of that week. So you're right, exactly. They tried to lock him up that week. So they kept him out. So that was, you tell me that wasn't a strategy. You let him go in the 1st week. The 2nd week he goes in, put on a witness that he can't be in there for, and then boom, he's all of a sudden they're putting the shackles on him legitimately. And I think that's what's happened here. But then you look at the lottery after that. He's in there 2 weeks. One of those weeks is not a full week for him because of he has to leave the room. And then after that, it's 4 weeks in a row of not getting in there. 4 weeks in a row. So now, Jess Machado, in the meantime, a reporter that stood in line and was unable to, last year it was the line thing, right? It was the line. You'd stand in line. Last year you'd see Aiden and Jess Machado have someone sit in a chair overnight. So a media line, right? This year it's a media lottery. And you sit there and you look at it now. You look at Jess Machado. Week 1, I think in week 1 or week 2, she had been a backup, like a reserve or alternate. So the first 2 weeks, Jess Machado's not even in there at all. Doesn't get in. And then week 3, she's in. Then week 4, 5, and 6, she's out. So she hasn't even been in there more than 1 week at all. At all. Now, that's, to me, raising an eyebrow. When you look at, by comparison, and what the data I'm looking at here for me, like what I'm looking at is I'm not looking at the journalists or news networks as much as I'm looking at who would I consider an independent journalist. I would consider Aiden. I would consider Jess Machado. And now we might argue about John DePetro and Grant Smith Ellis being journalists at all. Just for the sake of this graph, we'll just call them quote unquote independent journalists for the sake of conversation. But I would say that we'll just lump the 4 of them all in the category because they're not from your NBCs, ABCs, CBSs, Court TV. Your established networks that have they're more from just independent bases. So those 4, it's completely different. So out of 6 weeks, Aiden's in there twice, Jess is in there once. Grant Smith Ellis, who I don't even think's even actually been in there, but he's won the lottery all 6 weeks. That's correct. John DePetro has been in there 5 of the 6 weeks. 5 of the 6 weeks. He is, with the exception of the first week, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, he's in there every single week. And then after that, it's just scattered. Gretchen Voss, I would basically argue, is a network representative twice. Court TV 4 times. Boston Herald twice. Channel 5 3 times. The Boston Globe twice. NBC 10 4 times. WJR-TV, JAR-TV twice. 3 times. The Associated Press 4 times. Channel 7 only once, which is actually shocking. South End News twice. WBZ 3 times. Inside Edition once. Boston.com 4 times. ABC News once. Dateline 4 times. Boston 25, this is shocking, only 1 time. But the thing about what's the thing about Boston 25 though? Isn't Boston 25 more favorable, in my opinion, to Karen Reed? I would argue they're one of the more favorable networks. Andrea Clavin once, News Nation 3 times, and Fox News once. Of course, have all these networks actually been submitted themselves to be in the courtroom each and every week? I don't know. But when you look at Jess Machado and Aiden compared to DePetro and Grant Smith Ellis, that's where the controversy lies. That's where the argument lies. I understand some of these media outlets may or may not have got in, but something's standing out to me. Aiden and Jess Machado compared to John DePetro and Grant Smith Ellis and the amount of times both sides have won. And that has been, to me, in my opinion, where this is where I consider this a rigged system. Now, we have a few more donations that have come in for Karen Reed here. Let's take a look. We got 25, 50, and 50 from Anonymous, Jennifer, and Norman. 25, 50, and 50. $290 in donations raised during this show so far for Karen Reed. That's fantastic. So, like I said, it seems to be rigged to me. Now, that's what's going on here. People are gonna say, "Oh, well, it's not rigged. It's a legitimate lottery." No, it's not. No, it's not. When you have a person or people that are known Karen Reed haters, and they're in there almost every single week, and you have people like when you look at this whole list, you ask yourself, who would you say of these journalists or media outlets, who would you say are the most pro Karen Reed people on this list? I would say Aiden. I would say Jess Machado. Look at the amount of times they're called. Now, by comparison, who would you say is the most anti-Karen Reed people? John DePetro, Grant Smith Ellis. And when you look at both sides of that coin, one side's barely getting in the courtroom. The other side's getting in there constantly. Now, like I said before, the media, it's all dispersed. Some are in, some are out, whatever. But there's obviously something going on here. There's obviously a rigging going on in there. And there's something that is not legitimate about it. I believe it might have been Brian Barrera, attorney Brian Barrera, who said on Twitter this past week, and he called for them to basically try to contest it or have it done public, something they could do to argue it and have it done more legitimately in public, because it's not, if they're going behind a closed door, they're just checking off a couple, and what, I don't, no one knows what they're doing. It reminds me of just a lot of things that go on that are fixed. It's not legitimate. Listen, Mazza. Yeah. But it's, you can't sit here and say, well, great point, Feminem. I'm going to get to that in just a few moments, because that's where I'm going with this. So, actually, no, I'm going to get right into that right now. So, talking about the last trial, and this was a point I've made on my Twitter page a couple times, is what is the argument? The argument is this. I'm actually going to find out where I wrote it so I can just reread it without having to think my way through it. Here we go. All right, this is what I wrote on May 21st. I wrote, I'm not shocked at all that Turtle Boy and Jess Machado are being left out week after week. It's blatantly being done to keep out two pro Karen Reed independent journalists from being in that courtroom. Now, this is where I make the point that I want to make on this show. This is to Feminem's point as well. If they could rig the jury in the first trial, then they can rig the media lottery in this trial. If they can rig the media lottery in this trial, then they can rig the jury in this trial. I'll remain in a constant state of suspicious alertness until I hear not guilty on all three counts. Those are my exact thoughts. Because, and here's the thing. We're going to talk about the buffer zone in a little bit as well, and what happened this week, which was outrageous. But everything this year is escalated more than it was last year, right? The buffer zone, which we'll talk about in a bit, is far more intense and far more restricted than it was compared to the first trial. I was in the buffer zone for a while last year. Yeah, state police were here and there, whatever. But it's nothing compared to what I've seen or heard about this year. It's a lot more intense out there. Now, the media getting in the courtroom, last year, it was a chair line, and there was some chair line controversy. Grant, did what he did to Jess Machado. She got a restraining order on him. We know about that story. That was actually the first day I had ever gone to Dedham, and I was there later that same day for the first time. But this is the issue. This is the issue that's going on, is that everything, they got rid of the media line, which no one really liked the media line all that much. It was kind of crazy. People had to stake out chairs and all that. But they came up with a media lottery. And I said to myself, and I'm sure you guys did too, they're going to rig that thing. They're going to rig the heck out of that thing. They're going to go crazy with that and do everything they can to fix it and cause favoritism to some people over others. And sure enough, this year, Aiden can't get in there on a regular basis. Just Machado was in there on a regular basis last year. She can't get in there on a regular basis this year. So we've seen the buffer zone a lot more intense. We've seen the media line or media lottery or the process to get in there as a member of the media, possibly, if not absolutely, without question, rigged. That's all changed. And then now you ask yourself one thing, taking this into account, the buffer zone last year compared to this year, the media process last year compared to this year. It was better last year in both counts. Now, what about the jury? What about it? Well, should I even say it? Do we know where I'm going with this? They are, in my opinion, I can't guarantee this, but I'll say this. I have a constant state of vigilant alertness or suspicious alertness because I can't sit here with any level of confidence and entrust that this jury, I think they selected 18 or 19 people this year over the 12 that are actually going to be selected. I cannot have any confidence that that will not happen again. Looking back at last year, it was said by Alan Jackson in his Boston 25 interview with Ted Daniel. This was Karen Reed and Ted Daniel. He said throughout that trial last year, there were 17 jurors, I believe dropped down to 16. Good to see you as well, Louise. He said that there were 3 jurors in particular. And I sat in court one time last year, and Victoria, who's now working for the defense team, was actually one of the jurors that I, in my mind, in the hours that I was in that courtroom, I had basically pegged as I felt the pro Karen Reed pick. And there was another woman in there that I had, and this is me and Jess Machado had this conversation on Brian LTL's show one time. And I said who it was, and Jess goes, I know exactly who you're talking about. And there was no question that this woman, her eyes were like a deer in the headlights. And I don't mean out of fear, but out of the shock at what was happening to Karen Reed and what the charges were. And there was no question this woman was going to be a pro Karen Reed juror once it came time to deliberation. Out, gone. She was out of there. So there were at least three pro Karen Reed jurors that were not selected to be among those 12. And this is before we even get into the foreman discussion and Fanning being the overseer of the jury. This is all, without even factoring all that in. You mean to tell me, and Alan Jackson said this before the media, you mean to tell me that these people that were, because it's obvious. Like I said, I was in there for a matter of hours for one day. Thank you to the Reed family for having me last year. I appreciate it so much. It was an incredible experience. But I was in there for a matter of hours, and I could literally walk out of that courtroom and tell you that I knew a few of those jurors at least were pro Karen Reed choices. Most of them, it was tough to tell, but there were some of them that stood out. And I'm willing to bet probably 2 of those jurors that I had pegged as pro Karen Reed jurors were probably among those 3 that ended up getting removed. And sure enough, Alan Jackson's like, look, there you go. 3 people we basically said, oh, they're going to be pro Karen Reed choices or jurors, gone. They're not even on the 12. So they lost that right away. And that wasn't done on purpose. That wasn't done on purpose. You kidding me? And so what did they have? What did they do last year? Was it a lottery, I believe? They might have done a lottery last year. So going into this trial, regardless of who's overseeing the jury, whether it's a bailiff or another state police officer, I believe it's a bailiff this time. You mean to tell me I'm supposed to have any faith and any confidence at all in the fact that this jury lottery or whatever they're going to do to select the 12 jurors is going to be any different than the media lottery process that we're seeing right now? Is there going to be transparency? And I don't know who said this. It might have been Mark Betterow, I'm not sure who it was. Betterow, Nan Gallagher, somebody. Some lawyer, I don't know who, made this argument. And I agree with this. But I don't know what the procedure is for this. I don't know what the defense's argument for this can be. But I'm asking questions if I'm the defense. But again, I don't know what they're able to do about this. But I would say this. Is there any way, and I'd probably need a lawyer to answer this question, Betterow or Nan Gallagher. But I would ask the following question to these lawyers to ask what the defense's options are. Can the defense in any way, shape, or form petition the judge to conduct the jury lottery for the 12 that are selected to take place before the courtroom, even if it's only before the defense attorneys and Karen, and then the prosecution only? Maybe the courtroom people, maybe hopefully the families. But I wonder what the options are there, because I have my reservations for this lottery to be conducted. Now, the issue I have and concern I still have regardless of that, let's say in a hypothetical scenario, because I don't know the answer to this, the defense was able to petition before that judge and that courtroom that jury is selected and argue that this needs to be done before the courtroom. Now, I'm concerned that I have grave concerns that the judge will not allow that. That the prosecution will object, that the judge will manifest something to not allow that to happen. But I would like to see this done with Karen and all of her attorneys able to personally witness that lottery take place. And again, I don't know what the legality, what argument they can make from a legal perspective on that, but I think that the transparency must be presented. There must be transparency. Let's reword it that way. There must be transparency going into this case, going into that jury selection. And someone says defense should try, judge will deny. That's how I mean, that's probably what's going to happen, right? I mean, that's probably what will happen. Nonetheless, the defense should try if they are able, and that is a legal process that they can do. And I'm sure maybe they're going to do it. Maybe they just have to wait till they get to that point. I don't know how the procedures go. And someone said the jury should be allowed to vote for their foreman. Yeah, some things were controversial in the last trial as well. Yeah, right. Well, that's a great point, Scott. He goes, Bev said, this is how we always do it in Massachusetts, Mr. Jackson. And then Yannetti said, no, it's not. So, yeah, well, that's a great point that Charlie makes. 100% all bingo balls must be accounted for. So I think that's a great point. If there's 17 to 19 jurors, whatever that total is, then there must be only 17 to 19 options to be selected during that lottery. That must be congruent as well. We don't need names in there twice or duplicates. That is for sure. But, that's something that I look at going into this, and I have a watchful eye on. And we're not even talking about the verdict slip at this point, which was a very much, last year we're all focused on the verdict slip, because a lot of us didn't know what was going on with the jury selection. And here we have a verdict slip going back to the jury and all that. So it's just too bad. So I don't think the concern for me is that Karen Reed's going to go to jail based on which jurors are selected. I'll tell you right now, I'd probably hit the floor and pass out in shock if she was declared guilty by 12 jurors. I would not expect that unless the fix was in to a level that we can't even possibly imagine. Let me address this. So you have a disagreement. That's fine. You said one thing you said, Mazda, that I have to disagree with you on is you said Brennan is better than cross-examination. Better than Lally. Better than Lally was my point, but I didn't say better than anybody else. But he is better than Lally at cross-examination. Just to clear, I'm not sure if you knew that point, but that's my point. Better at cross-examination. Norman Corey, thank you. In the Turk trial, the numbers were shown to the lawyers, but not in Bev's court. It was Melanie that pointed this out. I watched it on her channel. That's a very interesting point. That's a very interesting point. And I'm not mad at disagreements. I actually like disagreements because it gives me an opportunity to have a conversation. So thank you. But yeah, I was just saying, in comparison to Lally, I feel that he is a better cross-examiner. Hank Brennan is. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, so the link is pinned to the top of the chat. Let's see if we have any more donations for Karen. I think we do. Nope, this one's at $40, but that's for Turtle Boy's dinner at Chili's, so that will not count towards this program. But yes, please make a donation to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Write Mazza in your donation message to Karen Reed's Defense Fund to have your donation counted. You can also just donate to Turtle Boys dinner as well instead. If you want to do that, you can have an opportunity to hang out with Aiden and Meredith. We have the link. We can post that in the chat as well. I believe that's on the Facebook group. I believe that's on Meredith O'Neill's and Turtle Boys X pages as well. So if you want to try to, you don't have to donate to my donation. If you don't want to donate to theirs, try to win a dinner as well. Hang out with Aiden and Meredith, who are great people. All right. So let me get a drink of water. Carolyn, let me see. Did you put your name in the donation? Let's see. Carolyn, what did you write or put as your name? I can try to track it down. I don't see anything out there that really stands out to me. Hey, Olivia, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Olivia Lambo herself. I don't know who specifically is suing Mike and the Young Jerks, but I do know it's for defamation. Oh, Carolyn Dorsey. I don't know if I see yours. Karen, let me double check the list. Good to see Olivia. Olivia is the statistician or the all. I don't see your name anywhere on that. Double check the list to make sure your donation went through, Carolyn. Yeah, and if it doesn't go through, make sure that when it asks you to select your email, that you do not select your email that's previously there. Just add a new email. That's the little trick, by the way. That's the little trick. I'm going to put the donation link back up. So yeah, double check first that your donation didn't go through. And then after you confirm that, click the link and you can put it through and just don't select your email. Add a new one. Jason Grant's in the house. Mr. Buffer Zone himself. How am I feeling at this point? I feel like the defense is getting the job done. But I do have grave concerns about jury selection and all that. That's how I feel right now. But I think the defense is bigger and badder than last time. I think the prosecution's a speck better. I just think Brennan's better than Lally overall. But I think that the defense is even better. And they're getting the better even more so. They're winning every witness even more so this year than last year. And I think they're going to expose a lot more of this when they have an opportunity to direct examine a lot of other witnesses as well. I think there's going to be a lot more damage. And I'm concerned about jury selection. That's the thing I'm really, as much as I'm paying attention to this trial like everybody else, I am definitely concerned about the jury selection process. I'm concerned about the verdict slip and how that's going to look going into this trial. I'm concerned about that. I don't think Karen's going to be convicted unless they absolutely, they'd have to basically handpick 12 people to convict her and basically say these jurors were hand selected. That would basically be the process in my particular opinion. I don't see her getting convicted, but I am concerned about another mistrial because the last thing I want to see happen is this thing continue to kick down the road as an ongoing trial after trial after trial after trial basis. Now, I love everybody. I do. We all love each other. It's been great to all hang out and help Karen. But at the same time, while all that's great, we can still hang out afterwards. You know what I'm saying? We can still all hang out and, have Monday night pizza and wings and dive bar gatherings and hang out and have gatherings and giant meals. We can still all do that. But at the same point, Karen is just tied up in all this. Her life is tied up in all this. Everything she's trying to do and accomplish in her life is tied up in all of this. And it's really difficult to watch. And yeah, exactly. It would be a nightmare. And I just want Karen to be able to move on with her life and really, take on the civil suit that's going to come her way. We know that's coming. But additionally, have an opportunity to start issuing some lawsuits of her own and start going on the offensive here and really start being able to go after people and take them on and sue a few people and file some lawsuits. And I think that this is going to be something that goes on for years. I think that even if this trial does end, we're all going to still be talking about civil suits and Karen Reed's other lawsuits. It's still going to be the Free Karen Reed movement is going to be the Karen Reed movement instead of the Free Karen Reed movement after all this ends, because after she's acquitted, whether in this trial or another one, there'll be some civil suits that are coming her way. And then we got Karen Reed's, suing the state, other things like that are going to come up. So we're going to be hearing about Karen for many years to come. That's for sure. There's going to be a lot of us that are still following all this and still talking about all this, and it's going to be an ongoing couple of years at least. Even if this trial ended in the next month and a half, we're going to be still hearing about Karen Reed, and this Karen Reed support group is still going to be there. But the most important part, like I said, of anything, is just get Karen Reed out of this mess first, out of this situation first. Is declared innocent, all the charges drop. Miss Reed, you're free to go. And then from there, we can start going after everything. Yeah, I know, Olivia, exactly. And hopefully the feds do move in. And that's exactly right. Because I don't think without the feds, I think there's no chance of anybody ever going down for this, because ultimately you just can't point the finger, because nobody's been basically accused of this crime. And then the crime scene itself is so horrible, it's botched, that you can't even probably prove anybody else did it either. So at least have enough information to prove. So it's going to come down to the feds basically overwatching this whole thing and taking some people down. Kelly R., thank you for the super chat. You wrote, "Hey Mazza, I've always wondered if the taillight pieces would have reflected from the headlights on the grass had they been there. Maybe someone can test this theory." So usually when there's water, which could be snow or whatnot, usually it starts to create a little bit of a sparkling effect to some degree, where it actually becomes more visible. So I believe that all the taillight that would have, quote unquote, shattered and been there, it would have been there at that time. It would have been located by anybody, state police, Canton police, or otherwise, at the time that crime scene was actively there. I can't imagine that anybody would miss it, and start finding, some rather larger pieces of it. And that's a concern. Britt happens. What's going on? But yeah, that's an absolute concern. And I think you're right, Feminine. I don't think the feds can interject in the middle of a state proceeding. Correct. So they'd have to probably wait till afterwards. Jennifer Stockdale says there's going to be case law, Commonwealth versus Reed, that'll be used for years to come. I agree. Darcy says, yes, the feds would have to wait for the state to be over. A meal of food is slang terminology for going out to have dinner. It's from the movie Old School, where Will Ferrell is trying to get his ex-wife back, and he goes, let's go out for dinner sometime, perhaps a meal of food. It's the movie Old School. Scott says, even the Fed investigation only discovered the corruption, planted evidence, collusion, but as far as charging the actual perps for the crime itself, well, that's another matter. Yeah. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be shocked if the taillights would have reflected, though. I think all in all, Kelly. I think that's my ultimate answer. And I think a lot of people may support that as well. But I think, yeah, it would be tough to say that wouldn't be reflecting. It would definitely be more visible. It would definitely be more visible that, it's like a shiny rock. I mean, it would have to be, any lights that were in the area, street lights in the area. There'd have to be something that would make that taillight shine a little bit. I mean, even when you look at your vehicle covered in snow, usually you can see a little bit of the taillight there. So that's just something. So taking a little breather. Sorry, folks. Just all this talking kind of takes a lot out of me. Whew. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Thank you for that super chat, Kelly. Oh, let's take a look at donations for Karen Reed's defense fund. $25 came in from Kelly. Mazza, Karen, and team doing a great job. Let's get this win. We are now over $300, $315. That's very good. Dennis Sweeney, what's going on? Speaking of boots on the grounds. Darcy, I think so. I would say, this is just my opinion. I don't know what they're going to do or not do, but I'd say Brian and Brian, I expect to be called. Norman Corey, $5 super chat, says the red would reflect with light shining on them. They are made that way. So if a car is broken, the car can be seen at night. That's a good point that you just made. I didn't even think about that. The police officers would have flashlights or natural lighting that they'd implement at the crime scene, regardless of the natural lighting from street lights. So yeah, they probably would shine or stick out, especially when they're moving stuff around. It would all stand out. I'm not sure, Brett. Brett, double check to make sure it went through. I'll check it. It might be the I did see a $50 right off the bat, Brett. Let me see. I get a $50. We have a $50 made from Terry, Jennifer, Norman. I only see $350, Brett, that have been made to the Karen Reed Defense Fund. Make sure when you're making the donation, if it doesn't go through or doesn't appear in the list, a day or two ago. Oh, from the other one. Okay, yeah, I didn't count it towards the last show. No, I did not. I had not done that. Nope. I apologize. I hadn't seen it. My apologies. All right. So yeah, the crime scene tail light. I mean, let's be honest with you. The tail light was shattered at Sallyport, and let's be honest, it was shattered at Sallyport. It was dumped at the scene. That's obvious. You're not going to start, especially when they hold up pieces of taillight in court. Like, yeah, we found this, and when did you find it? Well, we found it a couple days later. It's like, really? You got it. Actually, you know what, Brett? I'll do that just for you. I will count the $50 towards that. Okay, it gets us up to $365. You got it, Brett. All right, it's counted. It's in there. You got it. All right, fine. We'll put it in. Why not? We'll count it. We didn't count it towards the last one. We'll count it towards this one. Sounds good to me. All right, let's see what else we got. $50 from Michelle just came into Karen Reed's Defense Fund. That gets us up to $415. I'm trying to get $500 for this show to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I think for a Saturday afternoon, that's a reasonable goal, and I think that's a great goal. And someone did make a $200 donation, but it doesn't say Mazza, so we're not going to count that. From a former Canton resident who believes in your innocence, free Karen Reed. I'm just going to assume that that's for somebody else. There's a lot of other donations going on as well. Dennis Sweeney's in the house today, boots on the ground. Him and Brenda have been fantastic. They've endured a lot in Canton for standing up for what they believe in and fighting for what they believe in. It's really too bad to see that, they have to deal with what they deal with in their town. Karen Reed Defense Fund link is pinned at the top of the chat. Scott McGinnis is placing the link in there as well. All right, let's talk about Person of the Year. Person of the Year. Let's talk about that, shall we? Let's talk about who the Person of the Year is. Okay. Dennis Sweeney super sticker, $50. Dennis, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. I feel unworthy. I seriously do. And Dennis, I just want to make sure that was a super chat for me and not intended for Karen Reed's Defense Fund. If that was intended for Karen Reed's Defense Fund, I'll go ahead and put that $50 to her fund for you. But I just want to make sure. When I see larger super chats come in, I get concerned they might have been intended for Karen. So just let me know, Dennis, and if it's sent to me by mistake, I'll send it over to Karen for you. But I ask just for anybody watching the show, I think Dennis might have sent that as a super chat to me. But if not, please send your donations to Karen directly, not me. But if Dennis sent it to me, then thank you, Dennis. I appreciate the super chat. All right. I'll wait for Dennis's response. Thank you, Dennis. Oh, it's for you. I donated yesterday to Karen. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that, Dennis. Thank you so much. I just very grateful for Dennis and everything he's done. And it just I don't know. I just appreciate that so much from Dennis. I appreciate everything everybody, sends my way. I appreciate it. But Dennis, that means a lot to me. Just based on what Dennis has done. The way he's been boots on the ground, the way he's been out there constantly, the way he stood out so much, that just really meant a lot to me, Dennis. Thank you so much. Appreciate that greatly, sir. And thank you again for you and Brendan, all you guys do in Canton, and in Brenda's relentless effort to fight for what she believes in, and in Canton as well. All right, so the Person of the Year, according to the Bar Association of Norfolk County, they had an annual dinner this past week. This was Wednesday night. They had this in Norwood. And a reception at 6, a dinner at 7 they had. They had a Person of the Year award. And this went to Judge Beverly Canoni, which was interesting timing, considering this is right in the middle of a trial that she is overseeing. Considering that she's overseeing a trial that ended last time in controversy. This is pretty outrageous right now. $25 just came in as well from Anonymous, and we're up to $440. So, yes, they named her Person of the Year. Now, I obviously disagree with her being Person of the Year. I truly do. I think everybody disagrees with her being Person of the Year. But again, this is the Bar Association of Norfolk County. So I'm sure that they have their own set of rules, just like they have their own set of laws in that county, where they can really just do anything they want and run a courtroom however they want when it pertains to their interests, which is a little bit controversial for me and all of you. Yeah, Olivia goes, I really can't think of anybody less worthy. How out of touch these people have to be. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying everybody in Norfolk County is bad. I really can't speak for every judge, every person that's in the bar, past the bar, whatever. I can't speak for them. But I'll just say this. Without saying anything that would be an insult to her and would be more of an objective critique of her, I would say objectively that she would not be Person of the Year because her courtroom during the first trial was marred in controversy. It was jury selection, controversial, jury deliberation, controversial, the verdict slip, controversial, the mistrial, controversial. And I would say that it didn't seem to me like she had done a spectacular job in terms of everything being clear and concise for that jury, a jury being clearly and decisively whatever. Now, for me and many other people, being the Karen Reed supporters we are, believing that the judge is not impartial in this particular case, at least, believing that she is a gatekeeper for Norfolk County and Michael Morrissey's office, I think that this looks very bad. This looks very bad in a lot of ways for her and for Norfolk County because, again, this is happening right in the middle of a trial, the highest profile trial Norfolk County's probably ever had, at least in the last, since Sacco and Renzetti. But yet, in the middle of this particular trial, she happens to win Person of the Year. And like I said, I feel like, in my opinion, this is my opinion. Many people may agree. I think most of us may agree she's a gatekeeper for Norfolk County. She's basically, in my opinion, someone that's got the narrative or Norfolk County's interest in there. So, if Norfolk, I guess, in fairness, if Norfolk County wants to make her the Person of the Year for protecting their interests, well, I guess maybe she is Person of the Year for them. You know what I'm saying? I guess for them, she would be Person of the Year. I guess why wouldn't she be? If she's protecting Michael Morrissey or helping Michael Morrissey, if that's all true to the degree that we are concerned that it is, then I guess why wouldn't she be Person of the Year? And someone says money is involved. I mean, was that part of, if there was a deal made, was that part of the deal? I don't know. I have no way of knowing. I have no way of saying one thing or another. All I can do is speculate. But to me, it's just is a bad look for Norfolk County and a bad look for this judge for this to take place at the same time. It's just like, oh yeah, this is great. This is, she's a great judge. Believe us, she's a great judge. The Peter theory, look it up. I don't know what that is, but I will have to look that up. Thank you so much, Kelly. Oh yeah, she's a great judge. She's Judge of the Year. It reminds me of Beverly Hills Cop 3 when Ellis DeWald is named the Man of the Year. And he's like nothing but a shady and controversial figure. And Axel Foley is in the, he goes to the banquet and he just interferes with the whole banquet. He's like, bravo, Ellis DeWald. He gets up on stage with Ellis DeWald in the middle of his acceptance speech and just totally hijacks the whole thing. It's just funny, but sometimes these people that get awards are awarded by the entities that they're working with because they have they hand in hand go together. They're a team, right? It's just the way it works, I guess. But I don't know. I can't speak. Oh, Peter's here. What's his name's here? John's here. I must have missed that comment. I'm looking for it. No, I don't see it. He said, "Look it up, Mazza." I don't care. That's funny. But yeah, who votes for this? I don't know. But to me, it looks controversial. It absolutely looks controversial, and it absolutely to me, it's just a bad look. I want to know what the grounds were. But I mean, let's be honest. This is not the only case she covers. She covers other cases. I think there was another case before this that was controversial with her in it as well. Um, I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, I've gone ahead. I've named Karen Reed Person of the Year. I do awards myself, so I decided to name Karen Reed the Person of the Year. I think that anybody that's dealing with controversy and a lot of basically frame job, cover up job deserves to have the respect. So I just felt like, you know what, I'm going to do a MazzaMedia award, special MazzaMedia award, and just out of literal thin air, say, you know what, Karen Reed's my Person of the Year, and I think she should be Person of the Year for herself. I think she should be Time Magazine's Person of the Year and other awards Person of the Year because she's, I understand what Judge Canoni got was within the confines of the bar. That's their decision. I didn't even know they had Person of the Year in that, but for me, Karen Reed's the Person of the Year because she's facing a lot of trials and tribulations. I mean, literal trials, literal controversies, literal, things that force her to muster every penny and every ounce of courage and strength and endurance that she has, and do what she can to, get out there and have an opportunity to have freedom and deal with situations that may not be favorable to her. You know, and it's been tough. It's been very tough for her. And, I think that she's shown the human spirit at the highest level. You look at the Salem witch trials, which took place in Massachusetts, a period in time where women were simply had the finger pointed at them and they said, "She is a witch. Hang her in the middle of town by a noose." It's similar to that. It's like a Salem witch trial in a sense where Karen's the killer. She did it. Put a noose around her neck. And all that. It's just whatever. It's controversial. It's sad to see, but that's how it feels. It's a witch trial. It's a witch hunt. And I feel like Karen is unjustly being placed in this situation. I had Estes show on earlier today. She was talking about how she hates corruption, how she hates seeing an innocent woman who had a life well organized suddenly have her life turned upside down by a crime she did not commit because people that appeared to be in power were able to muster together their power to take Karen Reed down and put her in a situation, dump her in an abyss of chaos to help her have her try to fight for her life and do what she had to do to get out of that. And that's just to me very difficult. It's very difficult to see her go through that, and it's unfair to her. And I just don't feel like, for me, the police departments involved have done a thorough enough job at the crime scene to get an accurate representation that would show that Karen didn't do it. They just kind of said, "Hey, she did it. That's our lady. Get her in cuffs and, blame it on the girl." And that to me is what is so troublesome and so bothering about all of this is seeing what she's had to go through and the shock that she's had to go through, and her parents, that should be enjoying retirement, should be enjoying their lives, are unable to do that, and only really just have their faith tested, and belief system tested, and find that they can muster the strength every day to fight for their daughter, and with faith walk through uncertainty and walk through situations in life that are not fair, and life sometimes will throw life will throw unfairness at you. And I've dealt with it too in my life, not nowhere near this level. Many people out there probably dealt with trials and tribulations in life, but nowhere near what Karen's going through. Some may have even had it worse than Karen. I'm sure if you were a witch in the Salem witch trial, having your life ended as a result of a false accusation is worse than at least having a trial, though albeit controversial and rigged to a degree. At least that's better than an outright Salem witch trial. But it's just not fair. It is not fair, and unfortunately, life is not fair. And I think what I admire most about Karen is the fact that while life is unfair to her, she's found ways to stand and fight and stand up and muster resources together, or marshaled every resource, as she was quoted as saying, and stand up against this and stand up against all these entities and all these people that are all circling her, hypothetically circling her, and pointing the finger and saying, yeah, she did it. Every single person that goes on the stand, yeah, she did it. Or they're trying to make a case why she did it. And these people, week after week, in the first trial, this trial, all the hearings, yeah, she did it. Commonwealth constantly saying, yeah, she did it. And Karen's just sitting there at one point, in the video where she gets arrested, she's on her steps and she wants to go inside and get her sneakers or whatever. It's a horrifying video to watch. You see a woman that at that point was losing all her freedom, or at least having it temporarily suspended. She's being placed in cuffs. She's being told she committed a crime that she did not commit. She is now facing a reality where her life is changing. And at this point, all the people that are watching this show, I'd assume maybe most of us are Karen Read supporters. Others are opposition, anti-Karen Readers. Hope you guys are doing well as well, sarcastically. But that's what's very difficult. And this is why I admire Karen so much. I think Aiden said once she is his hero. And I think Aiden also has felt a lot of the wrath come down on him that they have placed upon her, what they did to him, throwing him in jail. But this is an unfair situation. This is a tough situation. I think for me in my life, to talk about my personal experiences, not that they've ever in any way been anything near Karen, not that they've ever been through anything bad. But I just think that in life in general, you can have tough times or uncertain times. And I think what I learned growing up, or even in my young adult years, was to, not worry about what's unfair and not worry about what you don't have, but worry about what you can do to essentially be better, do better, have better, and try to push through those set of circumstances. And for me, that's what I see in Karen. And that for me was how I related to Karen. It's like, oh, look at her. Life is not fair to her, but then she's out there fighting. People are against her, but she's out there standing up. And I think that ultimately that's why she would be my person of the year. And I hope she would be your person of the year too. And I believe she is your person of the year. The Bar Association of Norfolk County can select whoever they want as their person of the year. If they would like to have they can have whoever they want as their choice. They're free to do that. I'm free to disagree with it. We're free to all disagree with that. But for me, this is not about Karen Read's professional accomplishments or whatever fraternity she may be a part of that equates to her accomplishments. For me, I think Karen Read's person of the year is simply for the person that she is, simply for the person who she's chosen to be at the very core of her life. This is not a matter of her life accomplishments. This is not a matter of any of that. This is a matter of the absolute core of this woman, Karen Read, and her ability to fight and not cower down. And I'm sure she's had moments where she's probably wanted to shut the bedroom door and lay down and cry and give up for a few hours mentally, until she at some point accepted the reality of it, accepted how to get out of it, and accepted to start standing up again, putting the shoes on, throw the jacket on, make some phone calls, talk to some attorneys, start using resources, start looking into things, start hiring other attorneys, start going to court, start making arguments, start doing things. And I think that that's what, for me, the heart of Karen Read is all about. And that's why she's my person of the year, because she dealt with unfair circumstances that I don't wish upon anybody that's innocent, of course. And even despite that, I think everybody deserves a fair trial. Everybody deserves to have an opportunity at freedom. I believe everybody has a right to be cleared of any wrongdoing, especially when they didn't do wrongdoing. And just because a bunch of folks out there want to suggest that she did it doesn't mean that she did it. And I think that's the power of the Karen Read movement. I think that's why you have 65,000 people on the justice page, because 65,000 people that aren't trolls or anti-Karen readers secretly in that group truly believe Karen Read's innocent. You have over $1 million in donations right now. $1 million in donations to Karen Read's defense fund have been made. During this show, donations are also coming in as well. It's been incredible. And we have a few more. $25 just came in from Carolyn. We got that. Carolyn, we got that for you. That's in. Susan, $5. Thank you, Susan. $50 from Jessica. Thank you, Jessica, for donating to Karen Read's defense fund. And then $10 from Anonymous. The real person of the year is Karen Read. That's the goal. We hit the goal, $530. So $530 has been raised for Karen Read's defense fund. That's fantastic news. And additionally, we're over the 500, so we got $30 more than the $500 goal. Sky Scars, Super Chat. This is Paige. Karen's the real person of the year. Her defense team and all the local people who are backing her, so proud of them. Yeah, I think even if we said Karen Read's the person of the year, that really that person of the year, it's like when people say, I know I won this Oscar, but I couldn't have done it with all my co-stars and the directors, producers, writers, all this stuff. I think that's kind of how we can look at Karen Read's person of the year, is that not just Karen, but everybody that has flown within her, whether those are defense attorneys, family, friends of hers, supporters, boots on the ground, people that stand out with signs, people that have donated Monday. I think that collectively, Karen Read's person of the year is made up of Karen Read and all she's made up of as an individual, but all that she's inspired collectively as well. So definitely great comment right there. So sip of water here. Kelly Garcia says, shout out to Aiden Carney for bringing this to light. Isn't that a fact? I agree. That's absolutely a fact. Absolutely a fact. No question about that. That's so true. I mean, he was the one that brought this case to my attention when I saw this online one day. That's why I started reading about him. Like, what's Aiden talking about? Why is Aiden on the steps with all these people with signs? What's this free Karen Read thing all about? I found out about it in April 2023. Absolutely. So, all right. Let's go to our next segment. Thank you, Toots. She says, awesome show, Mazza. Let's get this link pinned here. Let me just check for any more donations to Karen Read's defense fund. All right, we're at 530 right now. $530 in donations. That's fantastic. Great job, guys. All right. Let's talk. Oh, actually, some news from Turtle Boy. He announced this week that a lot of charges were dropped against him. About 5 charges, I believe, were dropped. It's a great idea. I may go with that, actually. Actually, that sounds like a good idea to me. So yeah, Turtle Boy has one. Had 5 charges dropped this week. A couple of the tampering charges involving Janelle Webb were dropped, and then one for Yuri and one for Proctor, I believe. We're 6. Carolyn's saying 6 of them, so 6 in all were dropped. That's huge news. That's huge news. And I guess Betero had informed him that was big news as well. So that's absolutely fantastic for him. Good to know that he's kind of seeing some progress in all the accusations against him, charges against him that were unfair. So good for him. And hopefully he can continue to chip away. And again, if you can make a donation to Aiden's defense fund as well, please do that. Help out Aiden. Mike Crawford as well. You can help out him with his defense fund as well. And we hope that all these guys can kind of move forward in life and not have to deal with all this anymore. Karen, Aiden, Mike Crawford, a few other people can kind of move on with their lives. All right. Now, buffer zone madness. Let's talk about what went on in the buffer zone this week. It was the most memorable week in buffer zone history, in my opinion. Erica Walsh arrested. Tom CPU picked up by a state police officer while he's streaming live and dragged across the street. Yes, and Mike Crawford does have a lawyer. Yep, you can go on his Twitter page for more information, or if someone can post some links to his donation page. Give, send, go. If someone could do that, that'd be great. Yes. So the buffer zone was wild this week, and it was wild the first day of the week. Early in the morning, Tom was told to go to a different location. I guess he had, or I'm not sure what the confusion was, but basically the officer came over and said, no, you need to get over here. Next thing you know, he was getting dragged. I heard rumors that he was hurt, that he was in a sling. That was crazy. And then later that same day, Erica had warned the fund for Erica is you have to go to Mark Randaz's X page, and there is a generalized link for where you can donate to Randaz, or I think it's America. There's some kind of page, some kind of link like that, where you can make a donation. So Erica had warned a week before the Norfolk County is filled with criminals or run by criminals hoodie. It was a Microdots hoodie, and Microdots has actually made a $500 donation to Erica to help her. So she wore this hoodie. And this was subject of a very big controversy from the state police's standpoint, because they were not happy about it. Now, from my understanding and the understanding of most of the Karen Read supporters, is that you would wear, like last year, the understanding was that you would not wear Free Karen Read gear, not yell Free Karen Read, not hold a Free Karen Read sign when you're in the buffer zone. Like, to me, that was the understanding. So last year, I believe that hoodie was made, or maybe made recently for this trial. But Microdots, when he sold that hoodie, had made it so that it was within the confines of what the rules and regulations of the buffer zone were. So when you wear the hoodie, then it would again be in accordance with what those rules are. So she, I believe, was in there and wearing this hoodie and not thinking it would cause any controversy. So it did. And then she took her hoodie off. Then she had a Turtle Boy shirt on. Then that caused controversy. Then I'm confused on where the story goes next. Either she took it off, or they told her to take the shirt off and she stripped down to the bra. One of the things happened there. And then there was another incident. It was when she was leaving the Registry of Deeds. She was confronted again, and she volunteered arrest in that particular situation. They said, no, we're not going to arrest you. We're not going to do that. Just whatever. So that was the other incident that happened about a week before. This week, she's in the buffer zone again. This time, attorney Mark Randazza, who's representing several people to fight the buffer zone, was right there when this happened. So she had the same hoodie on again that was controversial to the state police a week ago. And this time, she was walking around, and now she had, been addressed like, hey, are you going to take this hoodie off or not? And this is all caught on tape by Boston Brandy, who is running the Resistance to Silence page. And she's like, I'm not going to take it off. So they cuff her. And at first they get physical. Like, he starts grabbing her, and everyone's like, whoa, why are you getting so physical? She surrendered. She cooperated. And, she decided that, this is, she was fine with what, not fine with their enforcement, but she was not going to compromise her value system and how she believed the buffer zone to be run, meaning how she felt this. I'm not trying to speak for her, but this is my interpretation. I believe she might have felt that I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear because this is not a violation of the buffer zone. And it looked like, they just wanted to do what they wanted to do. And they cuffed her. They threw her in the back of that vehicle, as Shannon Burgess calls it, a vehicle. And, they sent her off. And then she was taken to Framingham. And essentially, at some point, she was released on her own recognizance. And I think they put a couple of charges on her, trespassing and all that. So, so Scott says a lot of misinformation out there, but I'm tired of arguing with people over it. Polarizing narratives being spun. Yeah. So that's why, too, when I talk, I want to try to make sure I'm not speaking in absolutes before this audience as well. So I want to make sure that when I try to speak about this, I try to make sure I'm not speaking with absolutes, that everything happened as I'm saying it. I'm trying to speak from my own interpretation of how I believe it happened, and trying to quantify what exactly happened, but I do not know all the facts. I do not know all the reasoning. I do not know everything or most of it, but I'm talking about basically commentating on what I saw happen. So I just want to make sure I'm being fair for the audience and fair to Erica and anybody else as well. That I'm only speaking based on how I believe it happened. So I don't want to cause any controversy as well. So thank you, Scott, as well, that there's a lot of misinformation out there and all that. But yeah, Erica, again, believed, and it is believed by all of us, that hoodie should not cause any controversy. Additionally, I believe this was a point made by Turtle Boy that the jury was already in the courtroom at this particular point. And the jury was in there, and this was not something that she was going around trying to, say. So it just, to me, it seemed like it was all ridiculousness. I think the ultimate point here is it's just a shame that people are getting arrested, and that people like Tom are being dragged across the street instead of being asked to go across the street. Like, just say, "Sir, I need you to go across the street." Okay, I will. And then they wanted to arrest her for wearing a hoodie. And this is all in front of Mark Randazza. And they were obviously in court about it this particular week. They were at court yesterday. Randazza was there, and Erica was there, and a few others were there as well. A lot of supporters out there. But it's just too bad. It's really sad. It's sad that Erica, who's been a supporter of Karen for a long time, she wants to be out there. I remember meeting her for the first time last year, and what she brought to the, right outside the buffer zone was, always having food for everybody and making sure food was there for the, everybody else. She, everybody keeps saying no sound. It's just one person saying no sound. So I think your volume is down. So, again, I don't, it's just too bad. It's just too bad. And I think a lot of times the attitude is that I feel like people that are free Karen Read just don't want to be pushed around, and they do want to fight for freedom as well. And I think that's for many a message in all of this is to fight for freedom and to fight for what's right. And if we feel like we're, or if Erica and others feel like they're acting in accordance with the buffer zone rules, but then they're being told they're not when in fact they are, and then they're being arrested for that, that's where the problem lies. That's where the problem lies. And it's too bad. It's too bad that people need to be arrested. I understand that the cops, love them or hate them, have a job to do, but I do feel like, like the cops that didn't arrest her the week before, they said, no, we're not going to arrest you. Like, I respect that. I respect that those cops were like, hey, we're not going to arrest you. But then this week they wanted to arrest her. And it's just it's too bad. It's too bad that has to happen. It's too bad that an arrest has to be made. It's too bad. It really is. It's sad to see. I was pretty much, I was definitely stressed out about it. I definitely was. I mean, I definitely looked at it. I was like, oh boy. Like, seeing a picture of her in handcuffs and being, it's like, there's a lot of people on this planet that commit crimes that deserve to be arrested. And I don't think that Karen Read supporters that are wearing stuff that doesn't say free Karen Read are really people that should be being arrested. I really disagree with the arrest. I contest it, from a personal viewpoint. I also think that, it's, I think there's better ways to go about it. And I don't think that hoodie needed to be enforced, as a violation of the buffer zone. And Mark Randaz is obviously, going to fight this as much as he can, and continue to back up Erica, who he represents, and other people as well. And it's too bad. It's too bad. It's just all too bad to see all this stuff. It's too bad this buffer zone come the way it is. A lot of times people on the other side say, oh, people aren't going into the buffer zone this year and supporting Karen. Well, everyone can do what they want, do what you want, do what you got to do. But it's just too bad. It's too bad. Too bad it has to be this way. It's too bad that a hoodie causes that much controversy to subject arrest. It's truly too bad. Very unfortunate. But like I said, we're seeing a buffer zone this year that's far more enforced than it was last year. It's a media lottery that's totally different than the media line last year. So everything's kind of ratcheted up from last year. So it's really too bad to see everything the way it's going. But what we can do is fight and support each other, fight for and support each other, do what we can to help each other out, have each other's backs. Those are important things as well. And I think that will be ultimately our path to constantly supporting Karen Reed and helping her. We got a $5 donation for Karen Reed's Defense Fund, and a $20 donation just came in as well. We're up to $555 with this show. Mike Crawford's being sued for defamation. I don't know the details of what that stems from, but it pertains to other factors outside of Karen Reed. So that's all going on. Yeah. So, not quite a bit. I've gone an hour and 47 minutes. Wow. I didn't even realize that. Okay, wow. Thought this was like an hour and 10 minutes. I think I've gotten through everything. Let me take a look at my Twitter page, see if there's anything else I wanted to add. Mike Crawford's on tonight. Young Jerk 6:30. Nan Gallagher is on that show. And Turtle Boy's on tonight, 9 o'clock. That should be a big show as well. So those are at least 2 shows that are going on tonight. And the upcoming schedule here, as you know, there was no court on Thursday and Friday. There was no court on Monday for Memorial Day. There's a full day of court on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday's a half day, and Friday's a full day. Did anybody see the Auntie Deb microdots video that he made? That was hilarious. That was a riot. Oh, Turtle Boy's going on with the LB cops today. That's great. That's a great crew. That's a great crew over there. The Auntie Deb microdots video this week was a riot. Absolute riot. Yeah, Nan Gallagher was here this week. The Glare was here this week. They were in court. They got to sit in there. So Nan Gallagher's going to give her account of what happened in court, which should be good. That will be a good time. It'll be good to see Nan on there. It was good to have Nan on this show and Glare on this show last week. They fundraisers are always bigger and badder when you have guests, because they just the audience is bigger and more people donate, which is more people can donate because there's more viewers. So it's awesome. But we did great for a one-man show. $555 so far on this program. That is amazing. And then Esty had some fundraising this morning. I'm not sure what her total is, but we add those 2 totals together. That's a great day between 2 different shows. Yeah, the Glare is the man. Love the Glare. Nan Gallagher, love her. She's done a great job. She's going to be on Todd McGee, and Nan are going to be on Brian LTL's show this week and Monday. And then I don't believe Jess Machado was on LTL this week, so we're going to go ahead and anticipate a Jess Machado show hopefully this week, and I'm sure she's going to be sharing a lot of the media lottery and what's going on there. So that's good. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm having wings today. I got a salad in the fridge. I bought a pre-made salad when I went food shopping last night. I actually got leftover meatballs as well. So I got leftover meatballs. I didn't eat all the meatballs I made last night. So I got those. I got salad. Maybe wings tonight. We'll see. I got the solo cup here. I got the Polar Raspberry Limoncello going right now, which is good. I'm going to check for more donations to Karen's Defense Fund. But yeah, I'm probably going to go for a little walk in a bit here too. Get some exercise and get out there. It's not, I don't think it's raining right now. It was raining quite a bit this morning, which was probably good to get as much rain as possible, just to keep the, make sure there's not many water bans this summer when June, July, and August kick in. So yeah, salad's good. I'm trying to keep my diet as good as I can. One of the things I like to do is with blueberries, I throw blueberries in a frying pan. I then douse them with olive oil. And then I basically saute blueberries until they start the purple juice is all over the pan. They start to look caramelized or whatever the term is. And I throw them in a bowl, whipped cream on it, mix the whipped cream in. It's incredible. Something I made up. When I was dieting quite a bit a couple years ago, I needed to have no candy. So yeah, I had meatballs with no bread yesterday. I did have a chocolate donut yesterday. So I'm trying to keep the diet good. Someone's like, yeah. So I like blueberry pancakes a lot. So when I'm dieting, I'm like, I can't have pancakes all the time, but I love like the hot cooked taste of blueberries. So I decided to saute blueberries, and it was like amazing. It was like you wouldn't believe it. Blueberries are 10 times better sauteed than they are when you just eat them regularly. I'm telling you right now. Throw the blueberries in the pan, throw some olive oil in it, mix the olive oil up so every blueberry is doused. Okay, every blueberry has some coating. Saute it and just wait for the splattering to start, and then there's going to be like it's amazing. It's trust me. It's then just make sure you have whipped cream. Okay, whipped cream or Cool Whip. Throw that on that, mix it in. I came up with my own dessert. I have literally invented my own dessert, but it's crazy. So it's good stuff. So it's good. And I'm trying to keep my we got another $50 for Karen here. Street Squirrel, Bobby Street Squirrel, my man. $50. We're crossing the $600 mark now. $605. That $50 just got us $5 over. That's incredible. That is incredible right now. Why don't I stay on for a little bit? We'll talk about some other stuff. But yeah, Auntie Dev made fun of so many people, and he did like a Microdots parody. And I've always wanted to kind of is Microdots here. This is Microdots. This was pointed out by Auntie Deb as he did this parody. No, I like all the comedy Auntie Deb brings. It's always funny as heck. And we need more parodies out of him too. I'm hoping he'll do more parodies. I have to admit, me and Auntie Deb were chatting like a week or two ago, and I sent him some song ideas for some parodies. I don't know if he's making those or not, but I'm hoping that he'll make those. I had a couple. I can't remember what those ideas were, but one night I was feeling pretty creative. I was like messaging him with like ideas. I'm like, hey, what about a song like this? What about a song like that? So, yeah, no, it's good stuff. Good stuff. We needed the comedy, especially last year, just with all the stress and anxiety of the trial. Auntie Deb was a welcome addition with all the parodies and comedy that he brings to the table. That is for sure. So can't not admire that. Bettero's been amazing, huh? As he was last year. He is just, what I like about the attorneys so much is that they kind of give you that inside perspective on what attorneys think and what their experiences are and what they recommend the defense should do next. I like hearing about all that stuff. That's for sure. It's good stuff. Mark Randazza and Nan Gallagher met this week as well. They met outside the courtroom. I'll post a picture of that. Good to see the attorneys out there. And here's the picture right there. Nan Gallagher and Mark Randazza. Randazza was competing in some kind of bodybuilding competition recently too. I saw his picture; it was all jacked. He's all pumped up. He looked like Sylvester Stallone or something like that out there. It was awesome. Good for him. Good to see what he's doing for the movement. Again, I think that the buffer zone needs to have better definition to it. The enforcement needs to be a lot more scaled down in terms of allowances. Thank you, Angel. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, Angel, for that super chat. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate it. I just feel like, my way of contributing, like I can't be there, and out there like other folks. And for me, I just said, well, what can I do? A year ago, I said, what can I do to participate? I said, why don't I just do a show? Because I already do a show. I already used to do a sports show. I'm like, what if I just did like a streaming show and gave my opinions on it? And, it's good to have the support. Thank you. It's good to have that support from all of you. I appreciate it. But we're all here because we support Karen, right? That's where we're all here. It's to support Karen, help Karen, and just help her be able to do what she needs to do. And I just, like I said, these funds are being used up quite a bit. Karen's funds are being used up. And, the expenses are like what's happening now, especially is these funds are being used to bring in the experts. There's a lot of witnesses, ARCA guys, Dr. Murray Russell, they're spending their money to bring these people in, to fly them in to, it's olive oil. Fly them in, allow them to stay in a hotel. Dr. Murray Russell was flown out a few times. ARCA guys were flown out a few times. So it's been, a lot of travel. a lot more travel for them than we hoped. And sure, the defense and Karen hoped they'd have to do, but they were called back to have their credentials confronted by the prosecution, which was wild stuff. But it's a lot of money. It's not cheap. It's a lot. It's a lot to spend on. So right now, I think for me, I just this is why I kind of made a personal decision that when I do my own shows, that these are fundraisers, because I just feel like I don't know. I just kind of had that thought, even like almost like a, not condemnation, but just a thought in my head that was more along the lines of, I just want to make sure I'm financially helping Karen every time I do a show. That's kind of what I've kind of come to the conclusion of, that I'm obviously not going to be able to donate $1 million myself. No person's going to be able to donate $1 million themselves, but together we can, and I think that's what being Free Karen Read's all about. And I just feel like if I can do shows that are fundraisers all the time, then I can raise money, help participate, in raising money for Karen on a regular basis. Because again, I don't want her to be in a situation where this goes to a third trial. If this goes to a third trial, this is going to be, an issue, because now she's going to spend money on, like I said, all the money we raised last year was for one trial. And then there's a second trial. So we've raised over $1 million for 2 trials. Now, if there's a third trial, now, we're going to have to raise more money as well, and I'm someone that's made multiple donations to her fund. I've, like you guys, made a lot of I think I bought popcorn 3 or 4 different times. I think I probably made 5 or 6 different donations to her page over the year or two. So it's been, I probably made 6 to 10 somewhere of donations myself, and that's not a brag. It's just like, it just shows how many donations we have to make to help her, is that we all continuously, if we can continue to make donations, that's great. But hopefully, Karen won't need the donations down the road at some point, but for now, I feel like, supporting her is the number one thing for me, at least, to help her out. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to raise money for her to help her, I mean, $1 million, that's a lot of money, but this is an expensive case. It's not even a case. It's 2 cases. It's 2 trials, 2 pre-trials, two trials. So it's been double the amount. And like I said, all the money we raised for her first time around was just simply to help her out for one trial. And they went through that, and then retrial, it's instant dollars. And my biggest concern is, let me just get this super chat read from Kelly. They like the buffer zone not being clear. So again, no accountability for the city. Yeah, they do like it being clear. Yeah, so there's less controversy. Thank you, Kelly. My biggest concern is that their strategy, and someone might say, don't give them any ideas, but honestly, I don't think I need to give the opposition that are in power any ideas, because I think they already have more ideas than we could possibly imagine. And they certainly demonstrated that during the first trial. But my biggest concern is that this is all a long-term strategy to bleed Karen Read's pockets, because they're no longer fighting Karen Read. They're fighting Karen Read and everybody that supports her. That's really what they're fighting. Think about it for a second. Imagine if Karen Read had no supporters. Then it would be easy to beat Karen Read, or easy to stave off Karen Read, or easy to bankrupt Karen Read, or easy to affect their financing. But with supporters, they're not just taking on Karen Read. Every time you donate $1, they're taking on your dollar. When there's $1 million donated, they're taking on $1 million worth of donations from Free Karen Read supporters. That's what they're taking on. They're battling all of that. That's what they're fighting against. They're not just fighting against Karen. They're fighting against Karen's level of resistance. They're not just fighting against Karen Read's defense team and family. They're fighting against every single one of us that are making contributions, that even the people that aren't making contributions, even the people that are just holding a sign, even if someone can't financially contribute, but can hold a sign somewhere and raise awareness, and those signs end up bringing a couple people to be alert of the case, and then they start to feel passion, then they donate. raising awareness, is a big thing. And I think, see what Scott had to say here. I like this. He says, the mistrial would be devastating to Karen Read financially, and will her pro bono defense team be able to commit for a third trial? They do need to work and move on to paying cases. Yes. And I think that that's probably part of the process. It's like in boxing. When you're losing, you tie up your opponent and try to hold them for a second or two. It's kind of like what they're trying to do to Karen. They're trying to tie her up, financially, and they're trying to hold her in this constant, 1 second, my voice just went. Hold her up in a constant state of trials and keep her in the courtroom, keep her in hearings, keep her in pre-trials, keep her in trials, keep her paying for witnesses to come out. This is what's happening. And think about this here too. Realistically, a second trial was a big ask financially, wasn't it? It was a lot to do. Now a third trial, a third one, a fourth, a fifth, what if they do the same thing they did with the last trial? A verdict slip that doesn't make sense, jury instructions that aren't clear, a jury that's rigged, a mistrial that's declared. Like I said, till the moment I see Karen Read walk out those doors, not guilty, I will be in a constant state of suspicious and vigilant alertness for anything to happen. And, that's why for me, fundraising is the biggest thing, and I think that, somebody I was speaking with one time, we were talking about that. Like, what's the most important thing for us to be doing? And we said, well, raising awareness. But we said, beyond raising awareness, raising money. And if we can raise money for Karen as much as we can, to me, that's the big thing. That's just because this is like anything. It's a financial battle. It's the state or the Commonwealth against one person in their pocketbook. And Patricia's right. There should be no mistrial. And furthermore, there should not have been a mistrial the first time. And there was. And I hope and pray that there's no mistrial this time. And I hope and pray that Karen Read is not guilty definitively this time, because she should only be this trial should only be going on for the second count. Counts 1 and counts 3 shouldn't even be a factor in this trial at all. They should have been dropped from the first trial. And nothing happened. And despite the defense team's efforts to fight that, the powers that be at every single level of the law system refused to help, which is too bad. It's really a sad thing. It's really, really too bad. It's really too bad to see what she's going through. So beyond that, what we can do is financially contribute to Karen, continue to support her, and continue to support each other, and keep each other strong. So from that, I say to you guys, our total for today is $605. Let's get that on the screen. One troll said, oh, you guys made a whopping $3,000. I'm like, you know what, sir? $3,000 more than Karen Read's defense fund had before the show went on the air. Some might say $605 is a low number. Don't matter to me. That's $605 more than Karen Read's defense fund had before all the contributors made during this particular show. So thank you guys for making that donation to Karen Read's defense fund. If you have not subscribed to MazzaMedia, please subscribe. I have no idea when I'm going to be on this show next. But we'll see. We'll see. Looks like I hit the 11,000 mark. Thank you guys so much. I'll be live again sometime soon. Brian LTL wants me on his show. We'll talk about that. Me and him will talk about getting the show together. Maybe in the studio. Soon. So that'll be good. But you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to enjoy my weekend. Should be a great rest of the weekend for me. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. We will talk soon. I got some places to be and things to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I might grab something to eat before I do some other stuff. So it should be good. Thank you guys for following MazzaMedia. Please like this channel, subscribe to this channel, like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow the Young Jerks, follow Brian LTL, follow the Glare, follow Brit Happens, follow everybody. Brian LTL. Everybody, thank you guys so much from MazzaMedia. I am Mark. 2-hour show by myself. I'm pretty proud of that fact. That's a lot of talking. All right, guys, have a great one. From MazzaMedia, I'm Mark. Take care.